Hi, this is Uplifting Menopause Conversation, and my guest today is really somebody I'm really admire, and her name is Shelley Caulfield, and she's part of the Live Well team, a wellness service manager, and she just has so much energy. She became part of our initiative with menopause in the community, and I am really looking forward to talking to her. Before she takes over to introduce herself properly, I just want to explain a little bit about what our conversation is going to be about. We're going to be talking about keep fit, how to exercise for menopause, and how to exercise for day-to-day living. I mean, we all need it, and it's really important. And Shelley is going to give us a lot more advice on this. So, Shelley, please introduce yourself a little bit better than I did.
Hi, so my name's Shelley Caulfield. I'm the Wellness Service Manager for Bury Council, and I run a team called Live Well. So within Live Well, we have different officers and staff that do different jobs, but ultimately it's all about healthier lives, making good decisions. So I've got health coaches that do things like stop smoking, healthy eating, stress management, reducing alcohol. But I also have exercise referral officers, of which I am also one. And exercise referral officers are very much about how we make exercise part of your everyday and how we coach you into understanding that, well, exercise is medicine and it is magical, but you have to do it in a way that's suitable for you and finding something that brings you joy. Because when we say exercise, a lot of people are a bit like, eek. So we try to talk about movement and how movement can become part of your everyday.
Right. So I met Shelley through the physio department of Fairfield Hospital, which is in Bury, which is based in England, in Manchester, because we're talking to people from all over. So let me just tell you a little bit where we are. So we're in the north of England. Yep. And I met Shelley through my physio because I was I had actually a prolapse, and the physiotherapist, whose name is Joanne Arden, she helped me get back into trying to exercise, and I still have a lot of pain. So now I've been referred to Shelley's department. Now, I haven't met them yet, but I have so much, I've heard such great things. But I really feel that women, once we get into this thing of being in pain and we're hunched and we're tight, then it's very hard for us to open. And especially in these years when our bodies are going through so many changes, anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, well, we get more into our state of mind. So, Shelley, how do we get going? How do we do this?
Oh, crikey, that's the $1 million question. So I think the first thing to do is look at what you're doing now. And it's unfortunately we have engineered our lives and engineered discomfort out of our lives. And within the world we live in now, it's so much easier to do, to use your car all the time, or we're so busy, everything's online, and we can order things online. We don't go shopping as much anymore. So a lot of the reasons for movement have come out of our days. So we're probably a lot more sedentary than we've ever been, which is therein lies the problem. So the number one thing to do is go, how can I put more movement into my day or reduce how much sitting I'm doing? Because what we'll find, and this especially after the pandemic, a lot of people have now got back problems because of all the sitting they're doing. And what that means is just means your hips are really sore and tight from all that sitting, and because of the lack of standing we're doing. So it's sort of flipping on its head and thinking, right, how can I reduce how much sitting I'm doing in a day? And that's always where we start. So we'd look at somebody's schedule and go, right, you wake up at X time, you go into bed at X time. What are you going to do in your waking hours? And listen, I'm not the fun police, so you do have to watch a bit of telly at night. I'm all here for the series, but what are you doing during the day? And what we try to do is go, how do we disrupt your normal routine to put that in? Because if we start talking about planned exercise straight away, if you are somebody that's quite inactive, that can completely freak you out. So start first. A number one rule, always be kind to yourself, because while you're changing your behaviour, that also can feel really uncomfortable. So how can we start to put more movement into your day is the number one rule. And then we build from there. And it's about, like anything, we just look at how we keep adding things in. And once we've tackled the reduction of sedentary behaviour and more overall movement, and that's become quite manageable, then we start to put in more planned exercise. So we would then look at walking first. Nice and easy. Don't need any specialist equipment, can squeeze it in whenever you like. Yes, we live in the north of England, so you need a coat, you might need a hat, maybe an umbrella, but you'll be all right. Nobody melted from a bit of rain. And get out, get some fresh air up your nose, get some daylight on your skin, that kind of thing. And then once we've tackled that, then we would look at planned exercise.
Yeah, but Shelley, you know, I don't know if you know, I told you about it already, but we're doing actually this 5K in Heaton Park, which is a beautiful park, by the way, if anyone wants to join. And
gorgeous.
what I found is, like I said, I'm really not able to move. I found it really difficult, but I decided that's it. I really want to do this walk. And even if I don't make it to the end, I just want to know that I've taken the challenge and done it. So I have been walking every day, and I have this like plan that I'm going to keep to, and I'm going to have it posted actually as part of the, you know, the people who are walking. But I saw the difference already by the second day when I was walking. I felt so much better. It didn't hurt me as much. And I wasn't, you know, I think that's fantastic. For myself, it was fabulous. So walking is such an easy thing to start with. We don't have to do thousands of steps. How would you recommend somebody start, let's say, with a walking?
And again, everybody's different. So you know what? And that's why walking is brilliant, because if somebody was really new to it and they'd started to move more during the day, if I say to anybody, can you think of a lap around your block? And most people can think of a little 10-minute walk where they can leave the house, do a route, like a circular route, round the block, I call it, bit of fresh air and come back. Now, nobody's telling you how far to go. Nobody's telling you how fast you've got to move. I'm sure there'll be somewhere you can plonk your bum on a wall for a break if you need one. And it's just doing that. And then once you've tackled that and you feel that's comfy and less pain, can you do it again? Could you add something on? Could you do an extra street? And it's just that, it's that build up, and it's just going slow and steady. Because what you don't want to do is create a boom or bust cycle. Because some people think, right, if I'm going to go for a walk, it's going to be for 45 minutes, I've got to stomp it out. No, you don't. Just go for a walk. And if you need to stop and plonk your bum on a bench, do that. And all I can tell you, and this is honest to God's truth, nobody ever regretted going for a walk. No, you'll never ever regret.
You feel better.
Always, always.
Right. So okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about how our moods are affected when we're not doing the walking, when we're not going, when we're not exercising. Because I mean, the last guest we had her name was Amantha King. And Amantha, we were talking about, you know, how your body is affected by the hormones that are, you know, changing. So this, I felt, I mean, we went through a part of it, how you exercise, but I would have liked to go deeper into that. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit why it affects you, how we can make a difference and all that.
No problem. So the number one thing that happens when you start to exercise, and this is why more continual movement. So we first start off with more just general movement, whether it's getting up, walking around your house, you know, that kind of thing. But why walking or any continuous form of exercise is really important. Well, there's various reasons, but the number one thing that does happen is once you've started to walk for around 5 to 8 minutes, your endorphins will start to kick in. And your endorphins are your feel-good, free, absolutely free hormones that live in your body. And endorphins are very, very good. And once they start pumping around your body, like anything, you start to feel good. You start to feel relaxed. They're also very good at quelling stress. So if you feel quite stressed or tense and that kind of thing, if you start to do some very low you know, nothing too hectic, low cardiovascular movement, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, and start to walk, what you'll find is that your stress levels, your cortisol levels start to come down, your your endorphins start to raise up, and you just start to feel calmer. Your heart rate starts to reduce a little bit. You just feel clearer. It's a wonderful thing. And what you'll find is that as your endorphins start to increase, as your cortisol and your stress starts to reduce, you start to get those feelings of joy. And it doesn't have to be joy as in excited. Yeah. Joy as in just that getting out of the house, doing something for yourself, self-care, doing something for yourself. And once you can start to have moments of joy and happiness, that's a precursor to serotonin, which then helps you to feel more relaxed and also leads on to feeling able to sleep later in the day. So it's really, really beneficial. There isn't a downside. I could talk all day about this. But when you start to move, you start to lubricate your joints. You hold any tension in your body, helps you to relax. You start to breathe a little deeper, take more oxygen into your body, which again makes you feel more relaxed.
And is there a way, let's say when we're doing this, if we breathe, when, you know, we talked about breathing, I remember when I went to that menopause day that we did in Bury, which was really good actually. I remember you were showing us a breathing technique, and I wondered, is the breathing when you're walking and all that, does that go together, or it doesn't make a difference? However you breathe, just walk.
Again, I don't want to put any, you know, you don't have to overcomplicate it, but
yeah,
diaphragmatic breathing is really important. And unfortunately, after the pandemic, we have become a bit of a nation of mouth breathers. Okay. So this lovely thing on your face here is quite important. But what you'll find is, and then when I'm watching people sometimes, I've noticed, you don't, you're wonderful. People breathe a lot like this.
I must tell you something. I sleep with a sleep mask because of this. You wouldn't believe it, but
sleep apnea.
Yeah, because of my mouth breathing. So you're saying that I don't, but I do big time.
And well, maybe you've retrained yourself.
I wish. It's awful. It's the most awful.
Yeah, no, it's
but it's so important. I'm putting it out there. I know. I mean, this is out in the world, but I really think that women, first of all, should know that it's a possible thing that we go through, and we should check that out if that's why you're not sleeping. But second of all, you know, the breathing is a problem. You could really have a major issue if you don't. Yeah. So go back. Let's go. Yeah.
No. So as part of my work is I do pulmonary rehab. So people who've got COPD will come and do some supported exercise. But what we noticed, it's not just people with respiratory conditions. It's quite a population thing. They call it disordered breathing, and it's when you don't use the functions on your face to breathe. So this thing here is designed in a certain way that you're supposed to breathe in. It's got lots of little crevices and nooks and crannies in here that help to clean the air, warm it up if it's cold, cool it down if it's too hot, that kind of thing, take allergens out. It's quite helpful, it's quite useful, this thing here. So it's using that, but it's making sure that you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose if you can. But there are different ways of breathing to relax your central nervous system. So especially if you're out on the streets, unfortunately with air pollution. So again, we need this little device on our faces to sort of clean that air. So a lot of breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your nose, which is difficult if you've got any kind of sinus issues, anything like that. But that's why when you blow your nose, if you ever look in the tissue, sometimes what you'll notice is that obviously that's why you have mucus up there. And what that is this, we call it snot, don't we? What we're designed to do, it's supposed to catch allergens so that they don't go into your body.
So that's stuck there. Yeah, and then you blow it out. I get it. I think sometimes you have to be quite, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's very.
But one type of breathing that is beautiful, really calms the central nervous system. So if you're feeling a bit, when you go for a walk, get into your walk, stand nice and tall. What you've got here in your body here, just underneath your breastbone, you've got your diaphragm. So your diaphragm's one of your big breathing muscles. and it's like a disc, and when you breathe in, it comes down and up, and it helps to basically open up the lungs, bring air in, and then push out what you don't need. Now, what we tend to do, especially when we mouth breathe, is we're like shallow breathing, and it's not a deep breath. We don't tend to take a lot of oxygen in, but what happens is when you don't use this thing and you just breathe in throughout here, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight system, which actually elevates your heart rate and can make you feel a bit anxious and relaxed. Yeah.
So let's give us a demonstration so that we could at least try something that we could sit in our house once a day and just say, okay, at least I did this. Shelley said it's good. It must be good.
So diaphragmatic breathing, really simple. You want to be standing nice and tall. Have a look at your posture. Make sure you're not rounded, because you want this diaphragm to have loads of room to move to really be able to pull down. So tuck your shoulder blades in your back pocket. Make sure your chest is lifted. And what you do is you breathe in through this thing, the count of 4. So in through the nose, the count of 4. And in your head count. So again, it's a nice distraction technique. So there's a lot going on. Focus on the breath, focus on the counting. So you breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel the rib cage lift and expand. And then what you do is you make your lips like a straw, or purse lips, and you breathe out for 4. And what everyone says is they'll say, take a deep breath, calm down. Well, that's fine. But what actually calms you down is the slow outward breath. That's what actually calms you down. So you breathe in for 4. And then you make your lips and go.
Very relaxed.
And you would do that for 3 or 4 rounds. And the idea in eventually that you breathe in for 4, but you breathe out for 5, and try and really elongate the outward breath. And if you can do that for sort of 3 or 4 cycles of breath, you'll feel yourself actually relax. Yes. You'll feel your heart rate reduce. It's actually quite powerful. But you can do this while you're stood in the queue at the post office, while you're waiting to pay for your shopping in Asda, whatever works. But just be mindful of your breath, because you'll find that as you go across your day, you're like panting more or less.
I do that a lot. I do breathe through my mouth a lot. And I could feel, when I feel it, when all of a sudden I have to go, I realize that I'm not giving myself full time to breathe. And I think we're very tense, and that's what happens to us. Yeah. Okay.
And we rush through things, and I think meditation's not very comfortable with some people, because they'll meditate for 5 minutes, but to sit and have 5 minutes of peace when we've got busy worlds and loads of kids and stuff is impossible. But everybody could take themselves off somewhere for a minute.
Just breathe.
You can do it. You can do it in the car,
the other day when we had this meeting, I was saying, every hour, if you take all 5 minutes, then it adds up 24 times 5. You know what I mean? You get some time to yourself, and it doesn't have to be major taking off time, relaxing in the sun. It's not about that. It's just remembering who you are for 5 minutes. That's my policy in life. Right. So now let's go back to, now I'm going to go back into the menopause part, because that's where me and you met. So we've been doing these gatherings of women, and we discussed different things, and I never got a chance. We've had what's her name? We've had Zoe, and Dr. Zoe, and we had everyone spoke. Joanne spoke, but we haven't had you get up and speak. So I want you to tell us, how do you feel the women, when we're affected by our hormones and everything, and in the menopause years? How would you say to a woman who's just perimenopause, she's just starting on this journey, what could she do in this, in taking movement and everything? How could that help her?
Oh, it's just so vital. I think what happens is, everybody, men and women, so from their sort of like mid-30s, they start to lose bone and muscle mass. It's an awful phenomenon. Why is it dying like this? Who knows? But that's just what happens. So what you've got to do is, if you're not somebody who's already active, now is absolutely the time to active and see it as a vital way to look after your health. So as you start to lose bone and muscle mass, and if you become perimenopausal, actually what you'll find is that as you start to, you'll notice changes in your cycle, but then obviously as you start to have movements within your hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone levels will start to change, the loss of bone and muscle mass will accelerate. And a lot of women will come to me and say, oh, I've got a menopause belly. There isn't a menopause belly, but what it means is that you've got a higher fat mass than you have a bone mass. And unfortunately, you do need a higher muscle and bone mass to keep that fat off. So exercise is vital, but the type of exercise. Now, as we come into our perimenopausal years, our bodies don't respond as well to high intensity or, well, more high impact cardiovascular exercise. That jarring of the joints doesn't really cut it anymore. So if you're somebody who's always done kickboxing or high energy aerobics, you can still do high intensity, just not high impact. Really look after your joints.
So let's just make Shelley, make the differentiation with high energy and make a differentiation.
So you've got high, you can do high intensity, just not high impact. So high impact could be lots of jumping and lots of like lots of explosive movements where you might do a jump squat where you jump up and down. What you'll find is that if you start to become perimenopausal and you start to maybe have some symptoms of joint ache, that kind of movement probably isn't going to cut it for you, but you can still move with high intensity. So you could still do exercise fast, but just without the jumping, without the explosive movement. So the movements that work best for perimenopausal women, plenty of walking, brisk walking, but walking at a propensity where your breath would be up. You'd be, breathing deeper, and that would be a great version of your cardiovascular. Really working that left side of your heart, getting it beating a bit faster, keeping that strong. Looking at flexibility. So maybe doing yoga or Pilates once or twice a week, and it doesn't have to be for a long time. 20 minutes twice a week would keep that flexibility. And last, but certainly not least, lift those weights. Do resistance training. Weight training is your absolute and utter best friend. If you can do 3 to 4 half an hour weight training sessions every week, you would start to build lean muscle mass. That would start to strengthen your bones. You would then tip the scales. You would then reduce the fat mass. You'd build up the bone and muscle mass, and your body composition, your muscle tone, the way your body looks, gets stronger. And that absolutely 1000% makes you feel amazing, makes you feel ready, and it really starts to affect how you feel mentally and physically because you feel strong. Okay. It's amazing. There's no downside to it. As long as you do it well.
You said sounds very on target, because I don't either. I also feel when I do the jumping or anything like that, I would kill myself. There's no way I would manage it. It just, and I see women doing it, and I think everything is falling. Stop. I do. I feel
especially if you haven't got a good sports bra on.
No, but you know what I'm saying. You just, like you say, you're jarring everything. I think what you just said is like perfect. Anyway, let me just close this. Okay. So those are. I think that's really a very good starting point, that we all understand where we're supposed to be going. And at the end of this, could we just say, what would you give as a takeaway to the women that, who are listening to us today?
Just see movement as absolutely essential and part of your everyday. Like you brush your teeth, like you'd have a shower, like, you go to the toilet, you do it every single day. It is a part of your day. Get outside, have a walk. It doesn't have to be for a long time, but have a brisk walk for 15, 20 minutes a day, or 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. Do that for yourself. If you can, go on your own. Just have that time for yourself. And then if you are uncertain about how to start to do weight training and that kind of thing, that seems very overwhelming, panic not. It's very easy. There's some wonderful things on YouTube or online that you can follow. It's dead easy. can do body weight to begin with and then get some cheap hand weights, or we can advise if you want to come to a leisure centre, then obviously Live Well can support you to do that. But start having a think about how this can be incorporated into your everyday life. If you put the work in now, you will have a happier, healthier, longer life. Don't leave it until you become frail. And unfortunately, frail people think that you're frail in your 70s and 80s.
Not true.
Not the case. I see people who are frail in their 40s. Yeah.
100%.
Don't wait till you feel like you're going to fall over. Yeah, your balance is going. You feel weaker. We spoke to a lady a couple of weeks ago. She was 45 and struggled getting the shopping out the back of the car. She had to get the shop manager to put the shopping in the back of the car. And then she got home. Her neighbour used to have to help her in. And we're only talking a few bags of shopping. Don't wait for that to happen. Your body is absolutely amazing. If you give it new stimulus and you give it new things to do, it will only meet that challenge. So don't be frightened of it. There is an easy, basic, beginner way to get into this, but there is no downside to exercising. You will only feel better and stronger.
Wow. I think that with those, I think you can't go any more than that. I think you said, with that, you've said it all. And Shelley, I loved having you. And I can't wait to do this again one day, because I really think that there's so much out there to tell, even if we maybe did a class together or something. I think it's so great. I think people really have to know that, you know, even if you're sedentary and you're not doing anything, just start. Start, you'll get there. You know, push yourself past your limit a bit, just a bit. I'm not saying kill yourself, just a bit, just a bit. Anyway, thank you so much.
Just start.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see you again. And all of you who joined me, thank you very much for coming. And we'll be back next time with Uplifting Menopause conversations. All right. Thanks.